Guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 54th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. Going back to Cali, as LL once put it, this is going to be the second to last West Coast album in this group, but these are far from the last West Coast albums I'm going to do in general, since they are far from the last classics this coast has to offer. I've talked about the wider movement that Souls of Mischief kind of fit into in my previous videos for Far Side or Freestyle Fellowship, who both played major roles in this West Coast scene. Many rappers and fans alike weren't interested in G-Funk at the time, and even if they did enjoy it like I do, it wasn't exclusively what they wanted to hear from California. If there's anything I've learned about hip hop or honestly just modern music in general, that proves itself true time and time again is no matter what sound or style is the most popular at the time, there will always be people who want to do something different and more daring, who end up inspiring or at least helping to pioneer an underground scene of like-minded individuals. A good amount of the time, that movement itself will end up inspiring more modern artists who then in turn develop their own scenes that influence even younger people, making this tree of influence, as I like to put it, too vast and complex to even track. The big example of this that always comes to mind for me is when you take someone like MF Doom and then compare just a sliver of the legends who looked up to him, like Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, Joey Badass, and Rock Marciano, and try to then trace how many younger people today look up to those figures of influence. It's the exact reason that LPs like The Future Is Now by Nonfiction or the first album Dr. Octagon put out, or 93 Till holds up so well, because albums like Harlem World or No Way Out by Diddy and the Family played to what was popular and profitable at the time, resulting in huge sales. I don't personally think that makes those albums bad necessarily, but that catchiness and instant gratification of pop music usually wears a bit thin over the years. Alternative hip hop usually stays just as good or gets even better, and a lot of these albums would be held up by their quality and status for years, even decades. It gets to a point where a group like Souls of Mischief is able to transcend generations and affect so many people that it ironically can't even really be called underground anymore. I was actually introduced to Souls way back when I was going through my pro era phase, and I kept getting the 93 Till Infinity video recommended when I looked up the Joey Badass song 95 Till Infinity. That wasn't the first I'd heard from them though, because before I knew Souls of Mischief or who was in it, I was a massive Hieroglyphics fan. I had that logo on practically everything I owned in middle school, and while their debut is amazing and probably most Hyro fans' top album, I have a deep connection to their second album, Full Circle. It was the first hip-hop album I knew every single track to. I think this was due to the issue I've mentioned before about having to buy anything on iTunes you wanted to check out unless you just steal it, so I had probably 1 to 3 songs by most given artists, with one of the only exceptions being Black on Both Sides, as I mentioned in that review, as well as Full Circle, which was the only one I saved up to be able to buy in its entirety just from the few songs I'd heard off of Third Eye Vision. The reason I'm bringing up that game-changing Oakland collective is because 4 of the roster spots are occupied by the various Soul members, A+, Festo, Opio, and Tajai. The rest of the group is made up of its founder, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, as well as Casual, Peplov, Domino, J Biz, and DJ Tour. Due to hearing all the different voices countless times, I inadvertently prepared myself for this album, and I was happily surprised to find some of my favorite voices in a new context since I didn't know the names or faces of anyone, I just knew how they rapped. The Souls of Mischief members weren't the only ones who crossed over into this album from Hyro though, as we have 3 dope features by Del, Casual, and Peplov. 93 Till actually precedes Hieroglyphics in terms of a first album, though I believe the Hyro brand and collective itself was founded in 1991, which was the same time Del dropped his classic solo debut, I Wish My Brother George Was Here. Del also helped produce this thing, along with A+, Domino, and various other members, and that jazzy, more boom-bap sound, mixed with their creativity and technical skill, set them apart from the plethora of other Bay Area MCs. But their clever, expressive verses have references, topics, and slang relevant to life in the Bay that kept it from getting boiled down to, oh, these West Coast kids want to sound like New York, which obviously isn't the case. I feel like Souls of Mischief and their contemporaries had this sort of buoyancy and playfulness that I feel like most New York hip hop didn't have, and those acts excel at different things that maybe Souls doesn't. I think it's just a product of California because the East Coast groups who did have bouncy flows, like Lords of the Underground, Naughty by Nature, DOS Effects, or Onyx, had a totally different vibe. With the rapid fire flows that get traded around with ease, the mix of comedy, lyricism, and consciousness, and their ability to still incorporate the occasional firearm, narcotic, or sexual innuendo, Souls of Mischief have remained an insanely well regarded act, and they're one of the only artists in hip hop, alongside the Roots, to not have any material anywhere in their discography, as far as I'm concerned, that's remotely whack. They did a cypher recently over the 93 Till Infinity beat with new verses for the 30th anniversary, and none of them have lost a step. It's blatant that they aren't one of those golden age acts who puts out one classic, then hits that second album slump or doesn't even try and just throws in the towel because they can't adapt to the ever changing game. They kept practicing and probably just freestyling for fun because they record music as a byproduct of loving hip hop. A lot of us consider it a privilege to be able to take part in this amazing culture in any way, and anyone who truly feels that way is going to want to keep rapping even if they can't recreate their initial success. One moment I love that perfectly highlights the sort of duality between conscious rap and street life comes on the second track, where A Plus says, "Thy shall not kill, I will if I have to. You say I'm the one promoting violence. Well, I ask you, have you ever heard the sound of bullets passing you? Ever thought of going out with someone blasting you? Willin' to be killin' maybe is a great sin, but it's not appealin' when bullets penetrate skin." With how I was praising their discography, it probably goes without saying that I love every song on here, but my top three favorite tracks would probably have to be the title track, What a Way to Go Out and Tell Me Who Profits. I hate cutting anything on here out, so I have a bunch of honorable mentions like Live and Let Live, That's When You Lost, A Name I Call Myself, Never No More, Limitations, Anything Can Happen and Make Your Mind Up. Thank you for watching my 54th video. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off this Bay Area classic are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.